So Cedric asked that that he have his friend George Fleming introduce him. So and George is dressed for the occasion. I love the hat, dude. So George is going to introduce Cedric.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Well, first off, I just can't say how thrilled I am to be up here introducing my good friend, this incredible man, Cedric Gamelin. And first off, I'm sure you all really want to hear Cedric speak, so I'm going to set the stage for the guy really quick. For those of you who don't know much about Cedric, let you know a little bit about him, and then we'll turn it over to the man himself. So, virtual reality has been something it's been a myth, it's been an idea going on in Hollywood, but you know, with ideas, you need work ethic and that blood, the sweat and tears to go along with it, and that's, I'm gonna get into your work ethic here in a second, because, wow, Cedric's work ethic, people, it's second to none. So, when I first met Cedric, I clicked with this guy instantly. It was unbelievable. I knew he was a very special person, and I knew we were going to be friends for a long time, but I didn't think he was all that smart when he asked to go to the gym and start training with me. And I figured, you know what? Okay, this guy will be in there once, and he won't come back for more. Lo and behold, this guy was back the next day for more abuse, and he kept coming. He went for a few weeks straight until an ambulance, I kid you not, hand to God, ambulance took this guy out of the gym because he was working so hard. That just gives you an idea about Cedric. This guy will not stop until he achieves his goals. And so take virtual reality. This is something he's been passionate about for a long time, and bringing this to the entertainment industry. And like I said, it's been an idea, it's been a myth for a while, but no, he's bringing it to the entertainment industry right now. And let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, for this guy, this is only the beginning. Whoa, cut out for a sec. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to all of you my good friend, Mr. Cedric Gamelin. Cedric, take it away, man.
Hi. So it's actually the first time that I use a microphone, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very honored. I wanted to thank CLU for the outstanding education that it provided me. And I also wanted to thank Emblematic Group for the opportunity to work with them, to love my job, to love my colleagues, and to explore the realm of virtual reality, something that is really a passion for me. So thank you so much. So the agenda for tonight, I'm gonna talk about how I got into virtual reality. And then I will talk about how Nani de la Peña, the CEO of Emblematic, came to create Emblematic Group and the genre of immersive journalism. Then I will talk more and delve into virtual reality itself, the aspects of the technology, immersive journalism, and how it reinvented storytelling in virtual reality. And I will conclude with some VR applications in business, and then we can talk. So I started my studies. I did a business school in Paris, international business. Then I came to the United States, did my MBA at CLU. I had a wonderful experience. I was super lucky to attend a class of strategic management led by Michael Pryor. And this class really reinvented the way that I saw business and life. He taught us the art of blue ocean strategy. And this is something that brought me vision and brought together my creative mind and the business side of things for me. So when I finished CLU, I was all set on my quest to find my blue ocean in the world. something interesting. When I was 6 years old, I left with my family and my sister in the United States, and we lived in Washington, D.C. for a year. And when we came back, my parents cut the TV, and they replaced it with DVDs and VHS in English, because they wanted us to practice English. And it's actually how I started to be super passionate about filmmaking and storytelling. So after finishing CLU, my passion of filmmaking was right in my grasp because I was in LA. So I decided to pursue studies in filmmaking, and I went to the American Film Institute to pursue an MFA. There, at the end of my first year, I produced a short film about the detrimental effects of solitary confinement in prisons. And we were following a former inmate. It was a very challenging shoot, but it was a very rewarding experience. I learned a lot, and we got a lot of attention for the film, and I got invited to the White House to present it. But I was still looking for my blue ocean. And it was actually a class and a homework assignment that brought me there. The question was, if you had $50 million, where would you invest it in the movie industry? And so it made me realize, and it became clear, that the movie industry was one of the reddest oceans. So many competitors coming in the industry, battling for a shrinking piece of the pie. And so it was, to me, it felt ripe for something new, for a technology that could reinvent the magic of cinema, and something that would bring the audience inside the experience, totally immersing the audience in it. So I began to look into it, and I stumbled across an article in Variety about virtual reality, and I saw it. I was like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic. I need to look into it. I started to go to all the events that I could find, where I was invited to and those I was not invited to. And one of them was a big VR convention. And I was attending a panel, watching a panel, and there was this young woman, pioneer and producer of virtual reality called Julie. And she inspired me. And I looked at her and I was like, this is who I want to be. I want to be her. She's absolutely successful. 2 weeks later, a very good friend of mine calls me on the phone and is like, Cedric, Nani de la Peña is doing a VR film. She's looking for a producer. It's shooting in 6 days. I can't do it. Can you do it? So I Googled Nani, and I realized that she was coined as the godmother of virtual reality. I looked at her TED Talk, and I was absolutely, completely inspired. And it gets even better. The day after, when I got to the office, the young lady that was giving the talk at the panel was actually the departing producer that I was replacing. So I was like, wow, this is insane. I had no experience in virtual reality, and we were shooting in 6 days. Needless to say, it was absolutely crazy. We were dealing with state-of-the-art technologies that I didn't know about. But it was amazing. It was a great opportunity for me to prove my capabilities in production. The film was a wonderful success, and Nani hired me full-time. And we presented the film, the virtual reality film, at the United States Congress last fall. So that's how I got into Emblematic Group. So what is virtual reality? A very, very simple definition, which actually is kind of hard. Virtual reality is meant to artificially facilitate real sensations that are so convincing users will react the same way they would in real life. Before delving into virtual reality and explain it more, I want to talk about the story of Nani and how she got into it, because this definition will make more sense to all of you. So basically, Nani started to read about virtual reality in the 90s, but at the time, the technology was very primitive. And it was only in 2007 that she put the goggles for the first time. It was in Barcelona, and it was for a VR piece studying the bystander effect. For those who don't know, bystander effect is when someone needs help and a lot of people are witnessing the scene. You feel detached from the event because your sense of responsibility is divided by the number of people at the scene. So the more the people, the less help you want to give. In the experience, so Nani put the goggles, dives into the experience, and it was a sports bar with a lot of people, and two men were about to get into a fight. And for Nani, it had a completely reversed effect. She felt this sense of presence. She approached the two men about to fight and felt that she was there, and she wanted to intervene. But all this was only VR. All this was fake. So she took out the goggles and realized that this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to do virtual reality because it really inspired her. Nani had been a journalist. She was a correspondent for Newsweek. She wrote for Time magazine. She had been a filmmaker, produced and directed films. And she wanted to bring journalism to virtual reality, or bring virtual reality to journalism. So she got a fellowship at USC campus, and she started to create her own lab and to create her own experiences. At the time, there was a class at USC discussing the crisis of hunger in California. So with her intern, Gina, they went into food banks in LA and recorded live audio of food banks of people seeking food. One day, Gina comes back to the office in tears. She had recorded a man with diabetic condition waiting in line for food, and he fell into a coma because he didn't get food in time. This is the piece that Nani decided to do. She used the audio, the real audio of this event, and recreated it in virtual reality. She did it with $700, borrowed CG characters from other pieces, asked for a lot of favors, and made this piece. A year later, so this was 2011, a year later, so 2012, she got accepted into Sundance. But at the time, goggles were super expensive, about $50,000, and very, very rare to find. And so USC refused to lend the goggles for her to present the piece at Sundance. So she had to find goggles. Fortunately enough, Palmer Luckey, who was 19 at the time, was working at the USC campus and was creating a prototype of VR goggles in his garage. So they met and they started to work together. When they presented the piece at Sundance, Palmer Luckey came with the VR goggles, duct taped, and they presented the piece. Everybody was super stressed out because this had never been done before. And it was a huge success. People were super inspired by the piece. A lot of people cried, wanted to intervene in the scene. It had a tremendous impact on the minds of the people who saw the piece there. Palmer Luckey left to create the first prototype of Oculus Rift and then was bought by Facebook for $2 billion. A lot of people who saw the piece started to create their own content in virtual reality. Hardware companies started to create the new generation of VR goggles. And Nani created Emblematic Group in 2014. And now we're 17 in the company. We're in South Africa. And we're showcasing our work all over the world. And it's been an amazing experience. So here are some of the places we showcase our work, some of our partners and our events. And now I'm going to talk about VR technology. So I want to make a distinction between 360 video and room scale VR and virtual reality, because there is a difference. So this video is pretty cool to explain it. So on the top, you can see, basically 360 video is a video that wraps around the user. So the person, when the person puts the goggles on, he can look all over the place, but he can't move. However, in virtual reality, the user can walk in the scene. So basically, 360 video is a system of cameras that film an event at the same time and then stitch them together. So as I said, there is less immersion because the user can't move. In room scale VR, users can explore the space and still look around. Different types of virtual reality, one being computer generated. It's important to note that with CG, it's basically an engineer creating an environment or characters with a 3D software, and so it's based on his interpretation of reality. So here, for example, in the photos, you can see actors in mocap suits, and basically they have motion sensors that will record their movements, and this will be imported in the computer to create the CG characters. CG environment, same thing, same technology, but for environments. Room scale photogrammetry. The difference between CG and photogrammetry is that photogrammetry is a computer calculation based on images of reality. It's basically multiple images stitched together to form a photoreal recreation of a space. In this example, what you see is a print shop, a real print shop. We went into it, took a bunch of photos, stitched together, and it created this environment so that when you put the goggles on, you can walk in the environment as if you are there. Videogrammetry, same technology, but it's the computer calculation of videos. So you have an array of video cameras that shoot an actor, stitch all the videos together to create a hologram. So for example, in these photos, you can see me, I take the place of the actor, I'm surrounded with a lot of cameras in green screen, and on the right, you can see all the different angles that the cameras take. So if they were recording me, it would create a hologram of me that I could import in a virtual reality environment, and then if you put the goggles on, you could see me talk to you in virtual reality, as if I was there. So this would be the result. Photogrammetry plus videogrammetry. You have the people in the environment, and everything looks absolutely real, because it's based on real images, real people. So I want to talk about interactivity. It's basically user action creates a reaction in the virtual world. So in this video, you're going to see two people trying VR for the first time and interacting with the virtual world. And in the second video, this is Tilt Brush. It's basically a game where when you put the goggles on, you can draw art in 3D space. So basically, let's say, for example, I draw my name. I can then walk around and look at it. I can draw things around me. It's very, very, very cool experience. I want to talk, so now I'm going to talk about immersive journalism and how it reinvented storytelling in virtual reality. I'm going a little too fast. I'm still going to stay in. Sorry about that. So, immersive journalism. For decades, journalists have been trying to figure out a better way to connect with their audiences. The objective being to create a connection between very serious events happening far, far away, to build empathy and understanding. And virtual reality systems are uniquely fitted to deliver first-person experiences of stories that appear in the news. And immersive journalism offers the opportunity of a uniquely different level of understanding, contrasted to reading the printed page or passively watching audiovisual material. So here's an example of a virtual reality documentary that we did at Emblematic. It's based on recordings of 911, and we reconstructed a fatal domestic violence incident in South Carolina. So I'm going to show you a video. This is the first time that this person tried virtual reality. In the video, there's a few parts. You will see that all this space has been recreated. And basically, you will feel the tension in this person because of the scene, and she will try to escape. At some point, she will try to walk around the character as if this character was real, but is not. At some point, she's going to try to hide in a corner, but she will see objects on the floor and will try not to walk on them, but they don't exist. So one of the most remarkable aspects of immersive virtual environments is that the people tend to respond realistically to virtual situations and events even though they know that they are not real. Even more surprisingly, this response as if real, called RAIR, occurs even though the level of fidelity with respect to everyday life reality is severely reduced. In the experience that I showed you, it doesn't look real, but most of people react as if it's real. Here is another experience in which we put the user on top of a cliff, looking at the abyss. I've rarely seen people able to walk in the abyss because people feel that it is real. Yesterday, I was working on an experience that we're going to present to Art Basel. I was put in the middle of a street with a big truck coming right at me. And it looked fake. But I had to take out the goggles because I was so afraid to being crushed. I thought I was going to die. When I joined Emblematic, we started to work on a piece about solitary confinement and the detrimental effects of it on inmates. We followed a former inmate called Kenneth, who spent 5 years and a half in a prison, in a solitary confinement cell. When he got out, he said that he was going to people and asked them, do I act normal? Because it was that difficult for him to start socializing again with people. We went to his cell and we captured it in photogrammetry. This techniques that enables the taking multiple pictures of the scene, recreating the space in virtual reality, which enables the user to go and walk in the scene as if he was there. So I found myself walking in this solitary confinement cell. And I mentioned to you that I produced another traditional short film about solitary confinement when I was at AFI. Both medias talking about the same subject. So I can testify of the powerful impact of that virtual reality has over traditional filmmaking. No traditional film, no talk, no article could make me feel the abyss that I felt in this solitary confinement cell unit for the few seconds that I was in it. And I think this is the potency of VR, to put you in a story that you can feel and remember with your entire. And that to me is a complete reinvention of storytelling. So a few applications for VR. Here is arcade gaming, location-based experiences that were created by IMAX in Los Angeles. So basically you go there, put on the goggles, and you can try different experiences. One of them being Star Wars. You appear in Tatooine, you're equipped with a lightsaber, and you can fight off stormtroopers. There's another one where you're an eagle in Paris, post-apocalyptic Paris. So this you can see Star Wars, and John Wick, where you can actually have a sniper and kill other people. This is another arcade, but in Paris, very, very similar. And one of their experiences is they have a pod that is very interesting called Birdly. And basically, you're on this machine and you can fly in New York with a recreated New York as if you were flying there. This is an experience that we did at Emblematic. We basically recreated the Singapore Grand Prix. And so in this, you can drive a racing car, you can play multiplayer, and all the tracks that you see are real. For branding, we made an experience for Cartier. We recreated their flagship store in photogrammetry. So we went into their space, took a lot of pictures, stitched them together, and basically when you go on their website, you can virtually visit the entire store. This is, I think, my favorite application. It's a thing that we did with Google Daydream, and it's basically the visualization of live data from US stock market. So you put the goggles on, and you see around you data, live data. When it's positive, it's green. When it's negative, it's red, and you can see it shift. And you get it instantly. You see where it's going. And imagine you can transport this to other industries like sports, entertainment, and betting. Education. This is a piece that we did for a bipartisan committee. It's actually the piece that went to the US Congress. And basically, we recreated the events of Mary Catherine Goddard, who was the woman who first printed the Declaration of Independence of America. But imagine you export it to museums or to schools in which you teach history into VR recreation of historical events. Training and simulation. So you're also going to see in this video a man learning how to change high voltage. You can see him with the goggles. He has the controllers, and he's really learning something that's otherwise extremely dangerous. Another application, B2B. Imagine real estate. You're an investor. You want to buy some real estate, and this is one of the applications. When you put the VR goggles on, you are put in the scene, in the apartment, in the house, before it's created. And this is my favorite.
These patients were able to regain some level of bladder control, which is very important, and also bowel function. They were able to basically, for the first time in many years, to control their routine, bathroom routine, in addition to be able to move and to feel their bodies again.
So thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm leaving my email address here if you have any questions. I actually put together a document that really gives you all the information about virtual reality, and if you send me an email, I'll send it to you. Thank you.